everybody. Welcome to RiverCity-Media. I'm the Howard Cheney along with Phil Harris, of course. You see us weekly on several different formats on here. And our guest tonight, well, not really a guest no more. He's one of us now, as we were talking about before we went live, is Mr. Patrick Roszell, the president of the Dekalb County Band Association. Uh, Patrick is also the band director at Savannah High School. But we're on here tonight talking about the DeKalb County Marching Band Exhibition. I said expedition before we got started. I'll go ahead and call myself out. But exhibition that's going to be taking place Tuesday night at Fort Payne High School. And so, Patrick, if you will, just tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So, yeah, we have our DeKalb County Marching Band Exhibition. It's at Fort Payne High School, Tuesday, September 23rd. We start at 6 o'clock, and admission is $10 for age 12 and up. And we got all the county bands coming this year: Collinsville, Sylvania, Fife, Ider, Geraldine, Crossville, Plainview, and Fort Payne. So we'll all be there, and we'll kick off about 6, and each band goes is scheduled for every 15 minutes. So Collinsville's at 6, Sylvania's at 6:15, Fife is 6:30, Ider is 6:45, and Geraldine 7. Crossville 7:15, Plainview 7:30, and then Fort Payne goes out at 7:45.
If it's like it has been the last couple of years, there will be a concession stand set up there. So if anybody wants something to eat, don't have time to get something before they get there, you can get something to eat there. But Phil, it's a great event. I've been the last several years. Of course, I grew up being a band brother, I guess you could say. My sister was in the band, so we went to all these competitions everywhere. And it used to be on the weekend, but they've moved it to the weekdays now. And but it's a great event to let everybody go out and watch all these bands perform and all the hard work that they do.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you about, Patrick. I mean, these young people put forth a lot of effort. I mean, you hear all the stuff about cheerleaders and football players, but, the thing is I love about high school bands, and when I was at Valleyhead going to school, we did have a band. It adds so much to the atmosphere, and even, football players even notice it. I mean, it's a big part. You won't hear crowd noise, but when you score a touchdown, you'll hear the band play. And, and I do appreciate that. And I just hope most of the kids that are in the band understand that we really, they're kind of taken for granted sometimes. But I know how important they are to the atmosphere of a high school football game, because I know they work just as hard. And it's a lot of fun to have them along. Because when you go to a football game and there's no halftime show, it kind of makes things a little boring.
Yeah, it does. It's definitely part of the pomp, the Star Spangled Banner and the fight song, and just playing in the stands. That's been my main goal this year, is just for us to really have fun and just play in the stands, and just really get out there and support our team this year.
Hey, I understand that. Well, I'm kind of a novice to this. Is how does a band director come up with a theme for the season? Naturally, you come up year after year, but how do they actually come up with a theme? That you just find something creative, or maybe something that the kids like?
Yeah, everybody's a little different. I always come up with a couple of tunes that I kind of like, because I made a joke on when I did my last interview. You got to, this was knowledge or advice from my high school band director, you got to find something you can listen to for 10, 12, 13, 14 weeks. And I always bring my kids in, the leadership, and I say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do y'all think of these tunes? Because, I got to listen to it, but they got to play it for, 13, 14, 10, however long you go out there in the game, if you got playoffs or whatever. But I let the kids kind of chime in, and they give me ideas, and and sometimes they come up with stuff, and I'm like, well, I'll see if it's out there, but I don't know if it is or not. But there's some of these bands are these big. For those that are coming, Fort Payne always does a big theme kind of show. Last year, I think it was Western. And they had fences out on the field, and little wood fences and stuff like that. But it's just a process of and really and truly finding what the kids like to play.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, when you have these competitions, are these good training? Of course, we had talked about on there later on, there's a big competition at Walnut Grove, but these exhibitions here, are they good training tool for the members in that they kind of sort of are putting under a little bit of pressure?
Yes. And the majority, well, I said majority, we actually bring in, I guess you call them judges, but I bring in retired band directors and still active band directors, and they actually will sit in the press box next Tuesday night and give each band comments and what they think could be done better, and suggestions, or just this, that, or the other with when they see our show. So it's kind of a warm up to the contest, to the actual Saturday contest, because we don't get ratings Friday night, but we'll get handwritten and recorded comments from those retired directors. Well, let's see, 2 of them are retired, 1 of them still active, but and we have 2 band judges. We have a drum major judge that's just watching the drum majors. We have a percussion person that just watches percussion and gives comments on the drum line, and we have a color guard person that just watches the color guard for the entire show and just gives comments and suggestions. So and then we can take that as the band directors. We can take that back and go like, oh, hey, drum major, we need to work on this right here. So let's make this a little better, or you were out of step on this move, so let's fix this. So it really helps us as band directors, because we can't see everything. So it gives us an extra set of eyes, and plus they're up top in the press box, so they can see everything.
Yeah, I understand that. Well, this, and I'm sure you've been asked this before. What are some of the things you do to kind of sort of? I mean, there's a lot of stress involved when you're at band practice. It's got to be done right. I remember when I used to live in Fort Payne, just outside the apartments down there in Fort Payne. I don't know how many times they would start songs over and over and over and play them over and over again until they got it right. How do you keep things light to where it's not so stressful on the kids? Because, that kind of thing, kind of wears you out.
Yeah. I try to work in breaks. I try to give them water breaks here and there, especially when we're outside right now in the heat. But I give them water breaks, and I was telling Howie right before the show, I kind of gave my kids today off in band class, because we've had 2 really hard outside practices, because this week is our homecoming at Sylvania. So we've had to practice our halftime show, and we're still trying to get all of that on the field. Plus we got to prepare for the homecoming parade tomorrow night. So, my kids have been, we've been working on the show till 4:30 every day. And then we block up and we march around the school, getting ready for the parade tomorrow night. But like I said, I gave mine today off. We came in, and I said, guys, let's run through the Star Spangled Banner real quick, because we've got to play that Friday night. And I just said, all right, you guys just put them up. Just hang out. Because I think, and this is just kind of the way I was raised in band, but band is where your friends are, and a lot of these kids, that's their little home away from home. And it's their friends, and I kind of treat it as a family sometimes, because you're always going to have a squabble here or there. But I just let mine chill out occasionally. And example, like Fridays, when we've had the past 3 away games, I just said, all right, you guys just hang out, because we're not going to practice, because we got a long night tonight. But I try to give them breaks, and we try to do fun things with them. And of course, the fun thing about Sylvania is I have a little pool noodle in my office, and I'll go up and whack a kid on the arm and be like, "What you doing? You all right today?" And of course it's kind of a joke now because it's like, "Oh, there's R with the pool noodle. Watch out." But I try to keep it pretty light because I know about the 6th or 7th game of this season, I'm going to have a blow up. Football players have it. It's just that stress of that season going. And so I just try to keep it light for them and try not to get too the pressure build up. I try not to let that build up real quick.
Well, as a whole, do band members, do they enjoy marching in the homecoming parade and marching, say, in the Christmas parades? Do they enjoy that?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I'll say that yes and no. We've been riding a trailer for the past 2 years because our numbers had kind of taken a dip. But this year I'm back up. I'm pushing a little over 30 kids because I've actually had 4 more kids join. So we're marching in the parade. It's fun. But at the same time, parades aren't really fun when you're a band member. And I hate to say that because, I did them at Jack State, and you're just I'm gonna call them a necessary evil. That's what I'm gonna call them. They are fun, but at the same time, it's a totally different thing because you got to block up, and you got to try not to run away from each other and try to stay together. And God, if there's a curb in the road, those are rough to navigate. So
a lot of different things. Well, yeah. Of course. So I guess what it is they kind of sort of have to keep focused and keep it on the straight and narrow. They really don't get to look around and see the kids and see the people and see that candy thrown. They don't get to enjoy that part of it.
No, they don't. And and think about a parade. You have stretches of parades where there's nobody there sometimes. Especially like homecoming, and I know especially like the Sylvania Christmas parade. We have just a big old stretch that when we turn out on 75, there is nobody there for a good bit. Maybe half a mile, and so that we goof off and we try to have fun when we're in those sketches. But then I'm like, all right, we got people coming up, so let's get ready here, to play whatever we're playing.
Well, I want to ask you one more question. I'll kind of turn you over to Howie. Do you find that many of your band members are very creative type people? Very unique, have unique personalities, and are very creative?
Oh yeah. There's a term, and I use it jokingly all the time, but the term band nerd is it's there. Though they are. I always like teaching band because I always joke at the end of the year because my year ends early because all my kids are exempt from semester tests. And I do. There usually is a higher level of intelligence in those kids that choose band because there's so many. You're reading music, you memorize music, and you're playing a horn, then you're marching, playing, and playing a horn from memory. So there's a lot of activity there, in the brain that's going on. But yeah, I always joke about that. At the end of the year, I'm like, well, I got all these band nerds out there. I said they're all exempt from semester tests, so I don't see anybody because most schools this day, if you're exempt, you don't have to come to school on those test days. So, but yes, I would definitely say yes to that.
Yeah, very. Well, I don't never see this much. Do you have very many that goes on in March level?
I've had quite a few at Sylvania, actually. I've had several go down to JSU. In fact, I've got one down there now, John Gavin Taylor. He's down marching the clarinet section, and I've had a couple go down. I've got one at Troy right now, Caitlin Smith. She's down in the percussion section at Troy. And I had I've actually had several go down to Troy to march, and several to Jack State. I've got one right now. My drum major, she's looking at going to Auburn next year, and I'm talking to her about trying to go march at Auburn next year. So that would be a good that'd be a good little feather, in your cap to have that. So, but yeah, a handful.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. Well, what are some of the benefits they get when they go on to college? I mean, of course, naturally, you get to travel and get to go to ball games and things like that. But what are some of the things that they get when they get to the college level by being in the band?
Well, typically for us, it's a bigger. I mean, it's just a lot of our kids up here have never been in a band that size. I saw a number the other day. I saw Jack State's numbers, and Jack State's pushing 500 people in their marching band, and they have 73 trumpets. And my whole band is 30 kids. Some of these graduating classes up here are not 73. And so it's just a bigger experience. Of course, the travel, and they get to play. They get to play music they've never really played too. They get to experience that. And I mean, when you put all that together with those college players, it just takes it to another level. Just wherever it is.
Yeah. I guess so. It's being part of something special, just like a football player would. It's just something special. Right. Well, go ahead, Howie. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, let's go back to the exhibition a little bit. It's going to be $10 to get in, but that $10 goes to a lot of different stuff. Could you kind of break it down to where all that stuff goes to?
Yeah, we charge the $10, and that goes into the Dekalb County Band Association, which is the county organization that basically runs all of our, like, for example, next Tuesday night, it's the DCBA that puts that on. And we do pay the judges that come in, because we've got 2 coming in from Birmingham and 1's coming in from Jacksonville. And but we do pay them a little bit to come in and give us their expertise. But it also allows us to hold our honor band in May, and that's always at the DeKalb County Coliseum, which we get for free because it's part of the county. But we still bring in clinicians to conduct the honor bands. But one of the things we also do is every year we offer a $1,000 scholarship to a senior who's graduated, and they have to audition. 2 outside judges always bring in 2 outside band directors, and they have to play solos. They have to write an essay, and what else? They have to write an essay. They have to play a solo. They have to bring in a resume, and those judges sit down, and the kids play for them, and whatnot. They get questions asked. I mean, it's a full-blown interview. And then whoever they vote for it wins the $1,000 scholarship from the DCBA. And that can be used for anything, as long as they are enrolled at Northeast or JSU or Troy or whatever, as long as they are enrolled in a college, they can use it for books. A lot of them buy laptops because you got to have a computer these days. Trying to think. Some of them have bought instruments. They've wanted to go towards an instrument, because they were going to march in the college band. Books, just whatever they want to use it for, and they send me a receipt of what they want, and we give them their scholarship of $1,000. So that's our big reasoning for charging for admission up here, is just to help the DCBA and continue on of those things that we do for the kids.
Well, you're I hope you don't kill me when I say this, but you're the elder statesman of the band directors here in DeKalb County. You've been here longer than anybody else, and so I guess that's why you was voted president.
Well, yeah, and I basically know everybody. They always joke and they're like, Patrick, you know every band director there is to know, so we'll just keep you in this position. And I'm like, yeah, okay, because and I do have a big network of band director friends, you know, and of course a lot of the other guys do too, but I know so many of them that I can just usually just text them, you know, and say, hey, you know, you free Tuesday night to come up and judge? Yeah, well, I'll be there. All right, we'll be at Fort Payne High School 6:00. So, and plus I've been doing this so long that I just know exactly. I've got folders on my computer, like Tuesday night I'll know to go in, or for Tuesday I'll know to go in and pull out all the sheets and print those out for every band. And same thing with honor band. You know, I contact DeWitt Jackson at the Coliseum, and I just send him a text, and he's like, "We got you down. Appreciate it." So, but yeah, that's a big part of it because I'm the longest serving one right now. So,
I kind of like my terminology. You're the oldest, not the longest. You're the oldest.
The elder statesman.
yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's great, and for anybody that's actually going to this, it's a great event to go to. And little FYI, there got a lot of construction going on around Fort Payne High School right now, so parking is going to be a little crazier than like it has been in the past. So you may want to get there a little bit earlier because you might have to walk a little bit further than what you've had to in the past. And I guess y'all will, where the buses and the band normally warms up at, that's not there no more. So where will y'all be warming up at?
Well, he's got the buses parking up on the hill there on the loop at the school right there in front of the school. Okay. That's where the buses are. And the equipment trailers are going down, I think, next to the tennis court in that little lot right there. That's where we parked last year. But then the bands are warming up on Fort Payne's band practice field over there on that side over there on the corner close to the railroad. But yeah, it's going to be parking. It's going to be kind of crazy up there Tuesday night because there's a lot of parents and a lot of community that come to this.
Well, I tell you, some of us there might need to go in like you were going to the football game and go into the visitor side and parking in that field on the other side where you come down from the school or the middle school, whatever it is. It's up on the hill. I don't know what it's called now, but a lot of people have been coming in that way because of all that construction going on out front. It took out that whole parking area where you would park for basketball. So a lot of people go around parking on that other side. So that might be the best way to go in.
Yeah.
Take the back road around the back way instead of, going behind Oval, strap in, back in that way rather than coming in the front of the school.
Yeah, Phil knows exactly where that Fort Payne practice field's at for the band because he lived across the road from there. So he probably knows all the teams that Fort Payne had for several years there in a row.
Oh yeah, and they started over so many times, but it was neat to watch them. I mean, when they would play their whole program, I just get to watch, and it was neat to hear. I mean, it's very good. I didn't get to see Fort Payne home games much then, or see the halftime show, but I got to experience it from the apartment complex there. And it's great because I love the bands. I mean, I really enjoy them.
Yeah, you got to. Patrick, in case you don't know, Phil's a big Tennessee Volunteer fan, and they go every weekend that Tennessee's at home, and they are 2 sections over from the marching band.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So they got Rocky Top ringing in their ears when they walk out of there.
Yeah.
But something cool that they do up there. I know we're getting a little off subject, but something that they do is they'll take a few of the band members and move them to different locations in the stadium and play a tune for everybody.
Yeah, They do it they don't do it as much as they used to, but every once in a
Okay.
while they may do it like one game now that they'll go do that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, they don't do it as much as they used to.
Yeah. Well,
But when the stadium's packed like it is, it's hard for them to get around.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So back to Tuesday night, you got everybody coming in. It's going to be a great event for everybody to go to, watch. And it's something that I'm going to look forward to is being able to see Crossville's band because Crossville hasn't had a football team the last few years, and we hadn't been able to see them. I know they go and play at Pisgah, but when Sylvania played Pisgah last year, they didn't perform that night for some reason. But going to be able to get to see Crossville. We don't ever get to see Fort Payne because Fort Payne doesn't play any of the county teams. So it's always going to be great to watch all these other bands perform. But we see Geraldine, we see Fife, we see who else we see? We see Collinsville, we see all these others. But seeing a few of those that you don't get to see, and like Phil said, these kids work as hard as the cheerleaders and the bands do as well, or the football teams, cheerleaders and football teams.
Yeah, we're all there after school, and we were Monday when we were marching up around the school. The cheerleaders were actually in the old gym at Sylvania, and they popped out and started cheering when we came by, and because we were playing the fight song when we came by, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, and something you've talked to me about, and on several of these other shows that we've done, and Phil, it might catch Phil's attention a little bit, but comparing the football team to the band, the football team prepares for different people every week, but the band is the same thing week in and week out. Can you touch on that just a little?
Yeah, I've always made the joke. Football they get a new opponent every week, so they're watching film and studying plays, and you got to watch this player, you got to watch this player, back and forth. For us, when we get in, week 6 or 7, it's hey, let's play the Hay song again. And so I'm not going to say that it gets less enjoyable, but there is sometimes some eye rolling that happens, when it happens again. All right, let's play the Hay song again. Okay. It's, because and the halftime show stays the same throughout the year. I try to change mine up a little bit after contest if the kids want to. If they don't, we just keep it the same. But yeah, it gets a little about week 7, 8. Like I said, it's not boring. Excuse me, but it starts just getting a little repetitive. That's a good word for it. A little repetitive.
Phil, you've been a former football player. You kind of know as far as your practices may be the same, but you're preparing a little different every week.
Yeah, I think that kind of holds true. Maybe Mondays, you prepare for a different opponent, but really and truly, and it does kind of change it up a little bit. You've watched film, you come out and you're getting ready for the other opponent. But then like Tuesday, Wednesday, it gets repetitive. So it's the same thing for the band as it is for football players, because you at 5:05 to 5:15, you do this, and it's the same things over, and it gets repetitive. So I can understand that. But yeah, when they don't even get to change up songs, it's kind of tough. It's a lot to ask of them, but I guess it's in a sense, you kind of look at it as, you play it till you can't get it wrong. So that way you don't have any kind of mess ups on a Friday night in your performance.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this way, Mr. R is dealing with 7th and 8th graders. They can mess it up after so many times anyway.
Yeah, and that's the other point of the exhibition is to get the kids. It's that first time. When you're preparing for, your contest, because these kids, especially some of these 7th graders, that's going to be their first time on a really big football stadium. Like what like what Fort Payne has, and it kind of gets them ready because I know the last couple of years when we went to Albertville, Albertville's got a big football stadium over there, and it's intimidating. Those little kids walk out there and they're who was it that did? Oh, Piedmont. When we went down to Piedmont a few years ago, and I've said this before. I grew up in a big football high school, and I know what it's like to try to intimidate the other team as they walk in. And when we were walking in Piedmont's stadium, my band kids were like, scared. They had music booming, and it was blaring.
Oh, I think Patrick got a phone call.
Probably did, right in the middle of a phone call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it is interesting. Of course, I don't know a whole lot about band, but it's interesting to get a different look and a different perspective of competition. You have cheerleading competition, you have football, and then you have band competition, and you kind of sort of don't think much about it. But, this is good for them into preparing for later on, naturally. And I'm sure a bunch of band directors get together and communicate a lot with each other. Hey, what do you what works here, what don't work here, and it gives them a chance to eye contact and learn a little bit about each other. So I'm sure that helps too, because I'm sure he's gotten messages. Hey, I'm in this situation. How do I deal with this? And I'm sure they sort of, talk, and it may not be anything on the field. It may be used with band members off the field, so to speak. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Our bet was that you got a phone call.
Yeah, I got a phone call. It knocked me out. So yeah.
But yeah, and I'm not naming any names or anything like that, but Phil, Sylvania's their band is like 3 12th graders, 2 juniors, 3 sophomores. And
This year it's 3 seniors, 2 juniors, and 2 sophomores, and then everything else is 7 through 9.
And so when Sylvania exited the field after the North Jackson halftime show, those little 7th graders was just stunned and amazed because that's the first time they've actually played in front of anybody.
Yeah.
And some of them was about to have a come apart, it seemed like.
Yeah.
But it seemed like as the time gone on, I didn't see them after the Geraldine halftime show, but I did see them after the Holly Pond.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like everything is kind of the nerves are getting out of them, and it's becoming old habit to them.
Well, Patrick, I guess in a sense like this too, you watch these kids mature real quick. I mean, as being band members, I'm sure they mature probably quicker than other students do.
They do. I think I made the comment the other day, and I've since I've been band directing, I've noticed this, but girls typically pick it up 8th grade. That's when the girls kind of get it, and then sometimes the boys grab it in 8th grade, but usually most boys, it's usually around 9th grade. It's when everything starts clicking up here. I got to start on my left foot, and I got to stay in step with everybody, and I got to play. I got to play in time with everybody, but this year I've got a group of kids that they're killing it. These kids, they have been at rehearsal every day. We go from 3:15 to 5, and they've been there and they haven't complained. Even the young ones, they haven't complained. And even when we were marching around the school the other day, I went up to some of the 7th graders. Are you having fun? Oh, I'm loving this. I'm loving this. So, but yeah, you do. I mean, it's hard. That's one of the hard things about it is because you get attached to them. You have a kid from 6th grade through 12th grade, and I can't really think of another organization that you've got a teacher for that long. And I get to know the families. I know Howie, and my other band parents. I get to know them because I've had their kids for 7 years. And so you get to see the kid mature, and you get to know the parents, and then they graduate. And some of them come back to see you, but they're moving on to new stuff. And you get to see them mature, and that's what we're seeing right now is some of those 7th graders that were scared to death that first game. They say, "Oh, okay, I got it now. I know what to do." And I'm a real encouraging type of teacher anyway. I'm not the type of band director that beats them over the head when they mess up. I'm like, all right, you messed up. Now we know what to do to fix it. Next time. So, but yeah, you see it. You see the maturity level come, and I'm excited to see it in this year's group.
You said 6 through 12, but in our case, it was 5 through 12. So it's some of them you've had since the 5th grade.
Yep.
And I never really thought about it until you just mentioned that. But yeah, I don't know of any other organizations or anything like that kids will be with you or be with the teacher for that long.
Yeah.
So, Phil, you got anything else?
Well, no, one thing I do want to ask, I usually ask this kind of thing. I know you've been a band director for many years and a teacher and all that, but is the best part of doing what you do is the relationship with the kids?
Oh yeah. It's I like the kids that I teach, and again, it's fun and enjoyable to see them grow up into responsible adults. In fact, what was it? Jenny Cheney, Howie's daughter, she looked at me this morning and she said, "You did this to me." She said, "You and this schedule, this strict schedule that you have had us on in band for all these years," she says, "I now use that in my personal life." And I said, "That's a good thing." "That's a good thing." I said, "So now," I said, "when you get out, and you go to college after next year, and then you enter your life, you're going to have that schedule that you're going to be like, oh, I got to do this, this, and this." So, and that's one thing I always try to do is, I'm teaching band and I'm teaching music, but I also try to teach life skills too, because there'll be one day when Mr. R is not sitting there anymore and they won't be sitting next to me,
Yeah, that's something all, not just you, but all coaches that we've had on here has mentioned that, they want to win, they want to do good, but they also want to turn them into good adults, good men, women, and all that. So, it's that's what you'll want to hear from educators, or at least that's what I want to hear from educators. Not that, don't care about the kids, go do whatever they want to do, but to turn them into something. And when I was volunteer coaching back several years ago, I also wanted to teach them about life.
Yeah.
Because, it's, there's more to the world than just the Sand Mountain area, and try to teach them a little about stuff.
I've actually had a conversation with a young man a few years ago. Just to give you an idea, I told him, I showed him how to shave his face. He was a band kid, and he came in one day and something had happened and he'd try to shave, and I was like, "Dude, you gotta do this. You gotta try this." So so it's just a little life lesson, and it was just, like, okay, I can teach you this, but yeah, just being on time and knowing a priority, and just and I can be stern. I had a kid yesterday do something that I didn't particularly like, and I jumped him. I was like, "Don't you?" I looked at him. I said, "Don't ever let me see you do that again." He's like, "I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry." I said, "All right." I said, "Let's move on. We're good." But I do enjoy seeing them turn into good people, responsible people.
Yeah, absolutely. Phil, anything else before we let this gentleman go, and we'll promote everything one more time before we get out of here?
No, I've just enjoyed the conversation, learn a little bit about band, and it gives me a little bit. Anytime you broaden your horizon a little bit, gives you a little bit of appreciation for what these kids do as band members.
Yeah, and then something you kind of touched on a little bit earlier, Phil. I've been to the games where section against Pisgah, there'd be no halftime show, and
Yeah.
you're just standing there, just kind of twiddling your thumbs. And some places will play music over the intercom, but then sometimes they just won't do nothing, and you're like, okay, what do we do for the next 15, 20 minutes, whatever, because there's no entertainment.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
just not the same. While the game's going on, it's okay, but the band and cheerleaders add so much to the atmosphere because it keeps the crowd energized. Bands keep crowds energized, because even the home team loves for the visiting team to band come across and play in front of them because they don't get to see them but once, every 2 years probably. So the home team gets to enjoy the visiting team to come over and play in front of them, and and that's also a good thing.
Yep. Patrick, before we let you go, quick question: have you warned your kids about the turf that's in Fort Payne? Because they've got that artificial turf, and some of your kids, the juniors, the seniors, and the sophomores they've played on stuff like that at Piedmont, and they've done it at Fort Payne once or twice. But these little 7th and 8th graders, it's going to be a whole new experience for them.
Yeah, we've mentioned it. I think I mentioned it at band camp, how spongy and bouncy it is to march on, and hot. That's the big thing, because that stuff it I guess it retains heat a little bit, but we've talked about it, and we'll have to address that again probably tomorrow for the young ones before they get out there and freak out when they see it.
Yeah, it's one more. I'll ask one more question, then we'll let you go. I know Geraldine had a nice field, and everywhere we've played has been nice, but the grass is a little different on each field because Phil knows well as I do that sometimes if you got a little slower team and you're playing against a fast team, the lawnmowers may not work for a week or two to get a little higher grass to kind of slow the other team down a little bit. Little sportsmanship that goes on there. And but how does it affect the band, or does it affect the band with the way the field is cut and everything?
Yeah, it can. The biggest thing is, and I mentioned this. I don't know what they're called in football, but we call them tick marks. It's the lines, the little quarter lines that come up, that are in each between each yard line. And it's every two yards.
Every yard, every 3 feet, it's a hash marks basically.
Yeah, and then they used to run them up each yard line, and bands we used to set them in because every one of those is 4 steps for us. That's the way it used to be. So you'd go, okay, there's my little tick mark, so I know that's 4 steps of wherever I need to be. Or the second one is 8, the next one's 12. It goes in 4s like that. And we went to Piedmont. First time we ever went to Piedmont, they didn't have them. They had stopped using them. And our kids just freaked out because I would paint them on or Howie would paint them on the on our practice field. And so I stopped using them, because nobody uses them anymore, or at least anybody around here that I see. But it can be, and especially if a field is uneven, that can have an issue. I'm trying to think. We haven't really played anybody with a really bad field lately. We used to. I've been in some that it was rough kind of getting in and out. But it affects us too. Anything like that especially when you got to move equipment, like we do. We've got drum major podium and a bass amp and bells, and we got front sideline stuff. It can impact us too.
Yeah, hey, just a comment there. Back in my playing day, you played on a big old crown field, crabgrass everywhere, and then crawdad holes everywhere. So football fields have really gotten a whole lot better than it used to be. So it's a lot different. It ain't pastures anymore.
Absolutely. So, quick rundown: Tuesday, September 23rd at Fort Payne High School, starting at 6 o'clock. The Dekalb County Band Exhibition. Patrick, if you don't care, give us a rundown of the times everybody's going to be going again.
All right. Well, we're going to kick everything off at 6 p.m. The Star Spangled Banner will be played, and then Collinsville goes on at 6. Sylvania is at 6:15. Fife is 6:30. Iders at 6:45. Geraldine's at 7. Crossville 7:15. Plainview 7:30. And then Fort Payne closes us out at 6:45.
So everybody that can come out to Fort Payne High School, get there a little bit early because of parking situation. You may have to park somewhere different than you're used to, because anybody that hasn't been down there in a while, they're building a new gymnasium down there, a new coliseum down there, and a lot of the parking has disappeared now. And so get there a little early. You may have to walk a little extra, but the admission is $10, and the admission goes to the I'm not going to say the initials because I don't remember the initials, but I know it's the Dekalb County Band Association, and that goes to help pay for the judges. Or not really judges, but to the, I guess you would call them judges, but they're not really judging. Critics, maybe critics, I guess. Anyway, going to help these help all the schools when they go to their competition, to give them a little insight. Hey, need to improve on this. Paying for those guys to come in, also helping pay for the county honor band, and also the Dekalb County Band Association gives away $1,000 scholarship, so that money goes to that as well. So it's not like this money's just going and being put away and not being used. It's being used all throughout the year to help improve the bands. And so if you want to help improve or enjoy the halftime shows, go support them. If nothing else, just send your money. If you don't want to go, send the money. I mean, they could use that as well, So maybe we can talk Phil and showing up down there and watching a little bit of it as well.
According to what I got going on, there ain't no telling. I'm supposed to be on vacation next week, so we'll see.
Oh, there you go.
I would like to see it, though.
It's always entertaining. Like Patrick said earlier, it is a big crowd that comes out, so you may want to get there a little bit early if you're going to go, to get you a pretty good seat. But Fort Payne's does have a big home side stadium there, and but also Fort Payne Band goes and sits in their stands and watches all the bands perform as well. So so when they've got about what is it, Patrick, about 200 band members roughly?
Yeah, 100, 160, 170,
Yeah, when Fort Payne's got that many, so there's 160, 170 seats that are gone right off the bat just by Fort Payne Band being there. So anyway, go out and support these young people that they work hard. They work as hard as a football team, cheerleaders, and all that on Friday nights, and they deserve to be recognized a little bit. So Phil, you have anything before we let Patrick go?
No, I enjoyed it. Enjoyed the conversation, Patrick. Good luck to you.
I appreciate it.
Patrick, we appreciate your time. And once again, Dekalb County Band Exhibition, Fort Payne High School, 6 o'clock, Tuesday, September 23rd. Everybody go out and support the bands. And so I'm the Howard Cheney along with Phil Harris, and our guest tonight was Patrick Roszell, the Dekalb County Band Association President and Band Director at Sylvania High School. So thanks everybody for watching. Good night.